Okay. Well, why don't we get started and folks can join in. If they're a bit late, they'll miss our introduction. So welcome to the SADS Foundation Living with SADS Family Webinar Series. Tonight, we'll hear about assistive technologies. I'm Marcia Baker. I'm the program director for the SADS Foundation. Thank you all for joining us this evening. A few reminders before we begin. Please keep your audio muted during the presentation for improved sound quality for all. You have the option to turn your video camera on or not. We do love to see your faces, so thank you for doing so already. You may type a question or a comment in the chat anytime during the presentation, and Rachelle will address these questions at the end of her presentation. This webinar is being recorded today and will be made available to all the registrants. And now I'd like to introduce our presenter. Rachelle Cook is a graduate student in rehabilitation science and technology at the University of Pittsburgh. Her lived experience with CPVT as a patient and community leader led her to a career in assistive technology. She's been involved in advocacy since 2013. Rachelle is passionate about accessibility and assistive technology to improve quality of life. And it's now my pleasure to welcome Rachelle and thank you all for joining us today. Rachelle.
Hello, everyone. So as you may have gathered, this is a presentation about assistive technology. So just a little bit more about me, just so you know that I'm not like some random person on the internet giving you advice. I was diagnosed with CPVT at age 15, which was 2012. I'm 24 now. I went to my first SADS conference in 2013 in Columbus, Ohio. I got my bachelor's in human performance from the University of Alabama, and I concentrated in adaptive sports, which is sports for people with disabilities. Currently enrolled in the Rehab Science and Technology program at the University of Pittsburgh. I also have experience at Optimus Prosthetics, the University of Alabama Adaptive Athletics program, which consists of wheelchair basketball and wheelchair tennis, the Center for Assistive Technology in Pittsburgh, and the Human Engineering Research Laboratory. I also was involved in the co-creation of Essentials of Volunteer Training for Adaptive Sports, which is an online training program for adaptive sports volunteers. So, what is assistive technology? Well, you guys probably use AT every day and you don't even think about it. Examples of common assistive technology that everyone uses is things like Alexa. Texting was actually first invented for use by the deaf community. Swipe is a little thing on Android where you can swipe from letters to letters and it will type out the word for you. So assistive technology was first defined federally in the Technology-Related Assistance for Individuals with Disabilities Act of 1988. It's a very long name. No one calls it that. Everyone calls it the Tech Act. This act was expanded in 1994 and reauthorized as the Assistive Technology Act of 1998 and was last amended in 2004, which is kind of crazy because that is so long ago. So it's defined as any item or piece of equipment, whether acquired commercially, modified, or customized, that is used to maintain, increase, or improve the functional capabilities of individuals with disabilities. So as you can see, that definition is pretty broad, covering basically anything that helps someone with a disability do something is assistive technology, no matter what it looks like. So for our visually impaired friends, that could be something like a white cane or a service dog. Sometimes it looks like prosthetics. Sometimes it looks like computer software or apps. There's a lot of apps in my presentation. And things like closed captioning is assistive technology, hearing aids, and probably the most obvious, wheelchairs. So I did an informal poll through the sudden cardiac arrest survivors group to ask them sort of like what kind of issues that other SCA survivors are having, and so I could work on how best to address my presentation to make sure I'm not talking about a whole bunch of stuff that nobody's having problems with. This is not an exhaustive list. So our main thing that we're going to cover, or the main problem that people had, was getting distracted or trouble keeping track of time, remembering things from doctor's appointments, overwhelming stimuli. Oh, can you guys see that blue dot? Oh gosh, I'm so sorry. Vision problems, trouble speaking, keeping track of medications, trouble reading and spelling, trouble doing housework, cooking, following a recipe, trouble with fine motor skills, as well as a few people struggled with mobility issues and getting dressed and typing. So I believe I addressed all of these in some way or another. They're formatted similar to this to try and make it all make sense. So I compiled some examples of assistive technology that I thought would be helpful and easily accessible. Getting assistive technology prescribed and funded can be really difficult, and not everyone has the time, energy, or money for it, especially immediately after a sudden cardiac arrest. So I did my best to keep things either free or low cost. And most of these products can be bought commercially, except for, I did cover some wheelchairs at the end. Those you will need a prescription for. And a lot of the apps or like software I either have tried or currently use myself. So getting distracted. So our first app is Routinary. You can use it to set up routines, and you like tell the app how long this task will take you, and so it times you and then tells you when to switch tasks. For Routinary, you get 2 free routines, and then it wants you to upgrade to a paid version. Fabulous is another app that is basically Routinary, but with extra bells and whistles. I actually used Fabulous before I used Routinary, but then Fabulous, they like changed it, and then they required a subscription for everything. And yeah, so you can download Fabulous for free, but most of the features require buying a subscription. So I would say get Routinary first, see if it works for you, and then if you really like it and you want like more routines and more stuff, Fabulous is probably the way to go. It also has like guided meditations and other like mental health stuff that can be really helpful. Another one is Always. It's another app. So it visually shows your day like a 24-hour clock. So you can see like over here, this is like this person's whole day, and then you can see it's broken down into tasks. It also has a home screen widget to remind you how much of a task you have left and what the next task is. If you use your phone a lot, that can be really helpful for making sure that you stay on task and helpful for knowing like what you need to do next. Cue card, it also does reminders and also guides you through tasks. It's not in this photo, but I did see a similar photo where it like texted someone to remind them that they were in the middle of doing laundry, and it was like, washer's done, move laundry to the dryer. So I don't know about anybody else, but that's where I normally get stuck up on that task, and then it sits there for like 2 days. So sleep was not a problem that was discussed, but sleep is very important, especially for a healing brain. So, as well as, reserving your energy. So Rise learns your most productive times of the day. It does some sort of witchery through your phone and knows like when you most often do things. It also calculates like sleep debt and the best time for you to go to bed. Sleep Cycle is an app. It records you while you sleep to see when you are like in the lightest phase of sleep. So you don't like go immediately from like REM sleep and then you're awake. Because we've all been there when you're like in the middle of a dream and then some person is like talking and then it's just like meh, meh, like the alarm clock sound. You don't want that. You want to wake up nice and chill. It also tells you your sleep quality and how long you slept. Remembering things from doctor's appointments. I use this app as well. It's called a bridge, and it records your appointment, then provides you with a transcript as well as important notes. So it flags like keywords on either like symptoms or medications, and it will highlight medication names. And they even paired up with GoodRx, so you can actually click on it and it will tell you how much the medication costs at your pharmacy, like before you even leave your appointment. You could also send the recordings to others, so you could send it, to your spouse or whatever, so you don't have to like re-explain the whole appointment because it kind of gets old sometimes. Also, the transcript comes from a computer, so someone isn't like listening to your appointment and writing it down. That was something that I was a little worried about. I was like, how does that happen? But they use AI. It's completely safe. Medications. So My Therapy is an app. So you tell the app like what you take and when, and it will continually remind you until you either confirm that you took it or you skip the dose. I don't know about you, but my worst part about reminder apps is that I just swipe the notification away and I'm like, it's fine. But this will continually remind you, which is nice because it's just like, hey, you haven't done this yet. You haven't told me that you've done this yet. You can also use it for symptom checks. You can have it like, it'll prompt you and say like, how are you feeling? And then you say, I'm feeling like this. Healthy habits, doctor's appointments. You can also invite your doctor to the app if that's a thing that interests you. I think it's a little weird, but it might be useful. Medication timer lids. So these just tell you, like they go on your medicine bottles, and they tell you when the bottle was last opened, so you know if you took your medication or not, and when you took it. They also have like pill boxes. The one textured it's more expensive because it has a lock on it to prevent like dosing at the wrong time. It also so it rings, and then the container that you're supposed to take your medication from will like flash. It has a flashing light, so that's why it's a $70 pill box. But there's so many different ones to choose from to fit your needs. What style you want, whether it needs a lock on it or not, to prevent children or elderly adults from getting into medication and taking more than they should. These are more like much more expensive options, but could be very helpful if you take a lot of medications or you have a lot of different like medication schedules. So these two are completely automatic pill dispensers. They store, sort, and dispense up to a 90-day supply of Hero does 10 different medications, and the Medicube does 16 medications. It has like little bins that pop out, and you just like dump the whole bottle of pills in there and then put it back in. Hero uses an app with 24/7 support. It costs $50 up front and then $30 per month. Whereas the Medicube, you purchase it like all at once. It's like $17.50 new or $15.50 factory refurbished. And the Medicube it normally plugs into like an outlet, but it also has a backup battery just in case the power goes out. It can actually power itself for up to 24 hours. So that's a helpful thing to know in case power ever goes out. And caregivers get notified if doses are late, missed, and when the medication needs to be refilled. Finding stimuli overwhelming, that's a tough one. So the high fidelity earplugs are an option. They dampen noises but still allow you to hear. Goodness. Access Now is an app, and you can search for locations with certain access features that you need, including low noise, no flashing lights, low stimulation, things like that. As well as sensory and fidget toys, they allow you to direct your anxiety into a fidget. These are all ones that I have, and I use them frequently. This one's a little like spiky ring. This is a ring that spins. This one is a little marble inside a tube, and you just like push it back and forth, as well as some thinking putty, super fun. I know, and my Pretty Posh Princess has silicone chew beads. If chewing's a thing. Stimtastic, which I linked here, they also have it's called jewelry, like chewing jewelry. So yeah. Screen readers. So these are normally used by people who have a visual impairment, which I've seen a couple people in the SBA group who have cortical blindness. So these would be options for them. But you can also use a screen reader if you just have trouble reading, because it does what it says. It reads what's on your screen. And there are many, many different options. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but so the first one I'd probably recommend would be NVDA. It's free. You can use it directly from a USB stick. And it just has a synthetic voice that reads whatever the cursor hovers over. Web Anywhere is like a browser almost, like a browser within a browser. So you would go to the website and then you type in what you want, and then the website goes through and will read things. Orca is a download. JAWS is one of the most popular screen reading programs, but it's $90 a year. So, if you're getting it for yourself, that can be a little bit expensive, but most universities or workplaces would have access to this. Probably, they should. They don't, yell at them. Just kidding, don't actually do that. Other screen readers, Apple VoiceOver. It's available on all Apple devices, and VoiceOver is technically not the name just of their screen reader, it's of their whole accessibility suite. So you can magnify, have keyboard control, and it'll give you verbal descriptions. The Apple VoiceOver is really great. I would say if you have a visual impairment or you're going to use VoiceOver frequently, it's definitely worth getting an Apple device as opposed to Android. Their screen reader and blind accessibility are just terrible. I tried to do it on my phone the other day when I had a migraine, and it was too much. It was not good. Chromebox is an extension on Google Chrome that's a screen reader that speaks out loud. Chrome Viz is also an extension, but it's a screen magnifier. So it just makes whatever you hover over bigger, which can also help with reading. Writing and typing. So Quillbot is a website. It's a paraphrasing tool that you can use to rewrite sentences. It also has word suggestions. You can add it in to Microsoft Word, which is really helpful. Dragon. I love Dragon. I'm currently using it to type paper, not like at this exact moment, but so there's different software and apps for different devices. Basically, you just talk into a microphone and Dragon types for you. And Dragon is really great as an accessibility software because it plays nicely with other software. So you can just use it all the time. What was I going to say? Oh, they also have, so in the suite, there's like a whole bunch of ones for your computer, but you can also get Dragon like on your phone or on like an iPad or something. Reading, Kurzweil 3000 and Read and Write Gold are basically the same thing. They just like look different, but it reads PDFs, websites, documents, etc. It highlights words as it reads. You can tell it that you want it to either highlight the word, highlight the sentence, or highlight the paragraph. You can adjust how fast it talks. It's really helpful for reading. I think you can also pair Kurzweil and Dragon together. And like you can type documents in Kurzweil, which is what I use. There's also the Learning Ally Library, which is similar to Kurzweil and Read and Write, with highlighted text synced with audio narration, speed control, bookmarks, highlights, note-taking. It does require a membership, but membership is free with an eligible print disability, like dyslexia, and I would imagine brain injury probably counts. I tried to look into it and it just said email them, so I included the website on the bottom. Note-taking. So these won't help if you like have trouble holding pencils, but they can help with like processing and making sure that you like remember things. So Notability is a app for iOS only, and you can record audio as you write. You don't have to; it's optional. And then the playback will sync the audio with the writing. So basically, you can like re-experience you writing it. So the words will like pop up as the audio goes. It's $8.99 in the Play Store. I use it all the time. You can sync, you can like separate your notes via like folders and whatever so that you know where it is. Yeah, so great. The LiveScribe Smart Pen is basically the same thing, but it's paper. So you handwrite notes on, they use a special notebook that has like a microscopic grid, and there's a camera in the pen. So by some witchery, it like knows what dots it was over, and so you can tap on a word and it will like play the audio that was associated with that. The pen is $100, and then the notebooks are about $6 to $8 each. So if you have an iPad, I would probably just go with Notability, or if you really like paper, go with a Smart Pen. Mobility aids. So most, sorry, completely lost my train of thought. Crutch tips. So these are really great crutch tips. Those ones in particular are not like slip resistant, but those are highly loved among the cane and crutch users that I know. Everyone will say that they're the best. wheelchairs. So they weren't like super high on like the list of problems that people had, but you know, if you do need a wheelchair like longer term, please go see an assistive technology professional. They're also called ATPs. They specialize in wheelchairs and assistive technology. They are the most qualified people to be able to help you. Some physical therapists are also ATPs, but a lot of PTs or a lot of physical therapists are not, and they don't really know anything about wheelchairs. And it's a more in-depth subject than you would think. So yeah, that's all I'm really going to say about it. Please go see an ATP because I don't know all of your individual needs. And the decision on what chair is right for you is very individual. But if you're going to be pushing yourself, you should be getting an ultra lightweight manual wheelchair to save your shoulders, just please. And these are both ultra lightweight manual wheelchairs, even though they don't look anything alike. This one is the Tylite Aero Z, and this one is a Quickie 2. Those are probably the most common ones that we like prescribed in the clinic. The Quickie 2 were really popular. Other mobility aids, again, please go see an ATP so they can help you out. Also, please don't buy your power chair off the internet. They're like not classed as like medical devices, and it's like a whole thing. They're not really safe. So these are both power chairs. This one is a group 2, so it's less fancy. And this one is a group 3. It is more fancy. So a group 3, you have to have an eligible diagnosis, but like a anoxic brain injury would be considered a neurological condition. So if you have an anoxic brain injury, then you have a qualifying diagnosis. But obviously those are like highly specialized pieces of equipment, and not everyone, or even like most everyone, will need one. This particular chair right now, it's doing tilt in space, which is used to reduce pressure sores, as well as you can get recline, elevating leg rests. So recline, the back comes down, leg rest, the legs go up. A seat elevator and standing are not covered by insurance, but they are options. So a seat elevator means that, like, so think if this whole seat was flat, then it just comes up, and then standing is standing. There's a bar that you would attach to hold the legs, and the seat and the legs would drop to the floor. This one is a Permobile. Adaptive clothing. A couple people mentioned having trouble getting dressed. There is actually like a surprising amount of adaptive clothing. So these shoes are the Nike Fly Ease, are from the Nike Fly Ease line. I actually own that same pair of shoes. They have a zipper that wraps around, and then this little pull tab velcros across, and the laces are stretchy. So this link is to the whole like Fly Ease line, not just those. Zappos Adaptive has it's like Zappos normally is, where it's just a whole bunch of different shoes, but the Adaptive is, you can specifically look to see, I have ankle foot orthoses, or, leg braces, what shoes can accommodate those, or I have trouble tying my shoes, I need something without laces. And Zappos Adaptive is really good about that. Adaptive clothing. So this is a little button hook that can help with those fine motor skills of getting the button through the little itty bitty hole. Juniper Unlimited is a company that makes a lot of adaptive clothing, jewelry, tech, pretty much anything that you could possibly need. I feel like they have it. And that's a cardigan from them. It has magnetic buttons, so it doesn't use buttons. Tommy Hilfiger also has a line called Tommy Adaptive with similar magnetic buttons and like easy open pants and stuff. Alternative and augmentative communication, also called AAC. It usually comes in like two sort of flavors, symbols or like a keyboard or words. QuickTalk uses symbols and text. It's $25. So if, you know, in the beginning when, like immediately after an SEA, if someone's having trouble either speaking or like finding the words, I think $25 on a, you know, a device that it'll work with seems like a solid investment so that they can communicate. Jab Talk is free and it's a symbol-based device. It is also aimed at kids, so that's why it looks like that. I forgot to mention, if you need an AAC device, the professional that is going to be best able to help you would be a speech language pathologist. So especially for like, if you need like a dedicated device, like it's going to be like a long-term thing, that's who you would go to for that. Proloquo to go and Proloquo for text are symbol-based and text-based apps that a lot of SLPs will recommend, and that's their little Proloquo owl. But those are more expensive, so more of those long-term investments. Relaxation. I noticed a lot of people always in the CPVT group that I admin, they're always asking for like meditation apps. So Insight Timer is free and it has guided meditations and visualizations and a whole bunch of stuff. What I use, I really like it. Breathe to Relax. I saw recommended on many websites. I've never used it, but it's free and you can work to practice diaphragmatic breathing, which is supposed to help you relax. All right. I went through that very fast, so I'm so sorry, but I was trying to like leave plenty of time for questions.
You did great. A lot of great information. I learned a lot. Didn't know all those apps were available. So if you have a question, please post it in the chat feature. Or if you'd like to unmute and ask your question directly, that's great too. So type away or unmute yourself and we'll go through some questions. That was a great presentation, Rachelle.
Oh, thank you.
Lots of new information for me, for sure.
Yep. There's a lot about assistive technology.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
So,
any medication apps that notify family that medication has been taken. Okay, I'm gonna scroll back. So both of these do, but that's obviously an investment. I don't know if my therapy does. Pressing button on my phone. I believe some of the boxes have like Bluetooth, and so they can do it. I use this app to tell me when to take my medications, so I'm gonna. I feel like it does. It feels like a thing. Yes, you can invite friends and family. So I would assume that means that it will tell if you have taken it or not. how can people afford some of the high-tech equipment? Does insurance pay? So the answer is sometimes. For AAC devices and like those high-tech wheelchairs, your insurance should pay. They should be paying. They will probably be, I don't want to say jerks, but like they're probably going to be jerks about it, just because that's how insurance fees. But there are a whole bunch of, you can get smaller grants. You can get up to $500 voucher on AP through a law that I am blanking on right now. You can also get assistive technology through work. If you work at a company that has more than 10 or 15 employees, so that would be things like JAWS, anything that helps you do your job. Come on, brain, we're just there. You can also go through the Office of Vocational Rehab. Every state has one. Sometimes they're called something different, but if you just Google like vocational rehab and then your state, you should be able to find it. So that is a state-run program that gets federal funding to help people basically pay for their assistive technology and other things that they may need to be able to like be a productive citizen. So either like for a job, for school, to go to college, etc. And there are more, but so many other questions coming in. Okay.
Yes. So, could you say something about mobile EKGs on smartphones? No, there's the Cardia app.
Yes. So I think they're only approved for like AFib and some other similar conditions. I know you're not supposed to use them for long QT because it doesn't actually like calculate it that well.
I know that's being worked on.
Yeah. You can use them. Honestly, I didn't really think about it. I kind of forgot that they existed. Because we never talk about like this kind of stuff in my classes. Right. What about therapy animals? Are they considered AT? So service dogs are sometimes considered assistive technology. Emotional support animals are not, and therapy animals are not. An emotional support animal is not protected by law to go into places where pets are not allowed. That's the difference between a service dog and an emotional support animal. Therapy dogs or therapy animals are animals that would go like into a hospital to comfort patients. But yes, service dogs are considered assistive technology because they are considered a medical device. Are there any resources that you would recommend for caregivers to help them manage the needs of their child's spouse? I guess it would depend on what the need is. Because it's a very broad question. Some of these apps. Ooh, that's my question.
Yeah, so Valerie asked, some of the apps could be helpful with Parkinson's and other early dementia. And then thank you for the information. I'm going to send along to friends with these other conditions, especially the medication helpers. So it's great, helpful apps that you outlined.
Thank you.
Such a great resource for a wide range of circumstances, Jasmine points. I meant more to manage schedules.
To manage schedules. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. So you can use Cozy Family Planner, which allows you to sync like 4 different planners all together into one. It's often multiple caregivers. Yeah. So I think like Cozy, C-O, here, I'm going to type it out, but it's
Yep,
COZI family planner.
There we
For
go.
that to sync like schedules like that, I mean, you could also use like Google Calendar, but Cozy would be an app that could do that. I think, actually don't know. I was about to be like, I think some of these will let you do that. And I was like, I don't know. So, yeah. Wow, so many good questions. Thank you.
Great questions. Any other questions or verbal comments?
I'll make a comment.
Thank you. Go ahead, Jasmine.
I was just
Okay,
going to
Jasmine.
say that this is such a great time in history of cardiac arrest care and aftercare to be focused on this. When they added the 6th link of survival, the 6th link in the chain of survival last year, and there's more and more attention being paid on the needs of survivors after hospital discharge, because that has largely been neglected and very few survivors were provided resources like this. You know, we just sort of figured it out as we went. And that's where, you know, community is helpful, and having resources like this is helpful because there's such inconsistencies in care. But I think these kind of things are really sort of exciting, and I hope that they become standard offerings or screenings for these needs as things develop in the next few years. So I think it's exciting that you're interested in this.
Thank you.
Yeah, the world of AT is so new. It's like a baby of a field. I mean, it only even got defined like, oh God, 1988. That's not 40 years ago. The ADA just turned 35. So it's an exciting time to be an AT.
So Jolene wants a reminder, which app is it that tells the family member about medications?
Yes, that one is called My Therapy.
My Therapy. Yep. Okay.
Yep.
And Joanna comments, thank you for sharing. Should be a reoccurring topic because technology keeps changing. Yes, more apps will be developed. Any other comments or questions? Well, I don't see any. I want to thank everyone for joining tonight, and I especially thank Rachelle for her knowledge and sharing all this great information. And as a reminder,
thank you so much.
Yes, thanks for doing this. This will be recorded, and for those that missed part of it, you can watch the recording, and anyone that registers can watch the recording. So thank you all, and have a great evening.